Let's return to our top story of the bulletin as the new CEO of DBS waits in the wings to lead DBS and beef up its digital services. Let's look at challenges the bank has had to face following a number of service disruptions over the last 2 years. First, on the 23rd of November 2021, customers were unable to access the bank's online services. This disruption lasted more than 12 hours. On the 29th of March last year, customers were unable to log into online services such as its Payla mobile wallet. That disruption lasted for almost a day. Less than 2 months later, online banking and payment services were disrupted again as customers experienced difficulties logging onto digital services. Automated teller machines were also affected. Customers could not use their PayWave feature on their DBS cards. In September last year, there were issues with the bank's Pay Now and fast and secure transfers. Some customers had their transactions pending for 3 days. Less than a month later, online banking and payment services were down for hours, while ATM services were unavailable at several locations. The bank blamed service disruption on an issue at a data center that was also used by other organizations. In the following week, in October, users reported issues in accessing the Payla app, but the bank's other services, like its Digibank app, its DBS and POSB debit or credit cards, were still up and running. On the 2nd of May this year, internet banking and payment services went down for several hours. Customers could not log onto the bank's apps, although payments could still be made with its debit or credit cards. And to look more about the change of leadership at DBS, I'm joined by Professor Sumit Agarwal. He's Professor of Finance, Real Estate and Economics at NUS Business School. Thanks for joining us, Professor Agarwal. He joins us from Hong Kong. What's your take on this change of leadership at the helm of DBS?
I think there is a lot we can talk about what Piyush has achieved over the last 15 years. DBS has grown. It is one of the most influential banks around the world now. Clearly, you do bring up some of the hiccups that the bank has faced because of the digital transformation. It has gone in the last 1.5 or 2 years. But I think as any organization, change is good.
Professor Agarwal, we heard Ms. Tan speak earlier about this transformation you mentioned. She said adaptation will continue, but what does not change is DBS's approach to this adaptation. What do you think she will bring to this job?
A lot. She'll bring a very new perspective. Anytime you have a leader, after a while, the ideas they get baked in. You kind of like the things you're doing. And a new leadership will bring their own style, own substance, own way of doing things. And she's a known figure in banking. She's been there at DBS and in banking for a long time. So I think she will continue and keep the strength of what DBS has been doing for the last many years. But then she will bring new ideas to the table, especially when we think about technology, AI, and going forward, how she will marry that into traditional banking services.
All right, but nonetheless, Ms. Tan comes from within DBS, so new style, about 14 years she has spent at DBS. What does that say about the talent pool, not just in Singapore, but also in banking at these very high levels?
This is good news. I look at it, instead of looking for a new leader from outside, the banking sector is looking within and saying, we actually have talent. DBS itself has talent, which they were nurturing for the last 10, 15 years. And they realize we don't need to, again, look outside. And 2 things that stand out. One, the talent is within DBS. Talent is from Singapore. And it's a woman, which is a great thing, I think. Diversity, bringing that new perspective to leadership in banking, especially in the financial world, is very important.
I think you make a fair point that nurturing from getting a leader from within your own organization, so that's showing foresight and the value of nurturing your own talent. Do you think investors will share your perspective on finding talent from within your own company?
I think so. I mean, look, anytime you bring talent from outside, investors are nervous. What will they do? Will they be into cost cutting? Will they not understand the culture of the bank? She understands the culture very well. I mean, she is part of the bank DBS culture. So there will be very little disruptions, both in terms of capital and labor. And that is a good thing. This is what investors like. They like continuity and they like progression. And she will bring new ideas to the banking world.
And nonetheless, as we noted earlier, just before we crossed you, there have been hiccups on the digital front. How do you think these disruptions that many organizations have faced as well, what part would they play in setting Ms. Tan's priorities as she takes over this leadership early next year?
I mean, clearly, these are important issues to deal with, and I hope that she will take this very seriously. But look, I mean, there is no way any leader can completely absorb these kind of disruptions. They will happen. Part of it is within the hands of DBS and part of it is outside. I mean, some of these data centers, some of these issues are really not in the control. They should try to reduce them, but I'm not sure they can eliminate them. So I don't think we should expect, look, there'll be no disruptions. As we know, there'll be many, many more, not just disruptions because of technology, but there will be also people who will be trying to hack and create disruptions for DBS. So I think that's something we should expect. This is part and parcel of banking going forward.
All right, as you mentioned, unlikely to eliminate, but probably a good idea to try and preempt as much as is possible. Thank you, Professor Sumit Agarwal from the NUS Business School, speaking to us from Hong Kong.